Hi, everybody. Welcome to Life Stories Podcast for the Love of Books. I'm Shara Goswick, your host. My guest today is Kimberly Deshields-Spencer. Kim's latest book, called It Matters, talks about what we do matters in the way we grow and the way we build. How we think, what we say, what we're thinking about ourselves, all of it, every step of it matters, and it makes a difference in the outcome. Kim is someone that I greatly respect and admire. Kim and the Behind Her Brain community that she founded have been instrumental in my growth these past few years on my podcast. So I always love talking to Kim. She is someone that has been in this business for so many years and has great knowledge that she loves to share with those who will listen. I hope you enjoy this conversation. If you're a woman in any kind of business, an entrepreneur or an author or whatever it is, I encourage you to check out Behind Her Brand because it is a great community to be a part of. Thanks for being
It's hard
here.
for me to not be biased towards you because, you're one of my favorite people. You are someone who has helped me grow so much in the past few years since I've had my podcast. And obviously, I think thing you do is amazing. I don't know if people are going to believe me when I talk about all of this.
Uh,
Okay, so It Matters, the book that you just wrote. I know you've written multiple books. Um,
mhm.
this is not a quick read. This is not something you read through quickly, and I did it once just so that I could be familiar with it, but now I
Yeah.
like slowly because this is
Yeah.
now you even said in the beginning, "Take time, put it
Mhm.
down, think." This is a thinker. Why did you write this book, and who is it for? Who did you write this for?
Ooh. Honestly, I wrote it for people that and anyone that really and truly wants to make a meaningful impact in what it is that they're called to do. Because I feel like you can't make a meaningful impact if you don't really think through the thing that you're actually building
Right.
and even think through how you want to show up in that space. So to me, it could be for a creative, it could be for an educator, it could be for anyone that wants to make an impact.
Yeah, and I think that's why this is so good for me right now because, when you first start off and then maybe this is for any business, any entrepreneur,
Mhm.
venture, whatever. You want it to grow and you wanna make money and you wanna do all the things, and I still want
Mhm.
that, but I've had a shift in the last year, I think, of, "Okay, am I making an impact? Am I doing something worthwhile, or is this just something to do to try to make money?" And so I think this is so good for me right now. And when you say "it," what are you talking about "it"? What is "it" when you say that?
Ooh. Whenever, this was given to me to write, when I say given to me, that God put in my heart to write it, really is whatever you interpret it as the reader. It might be how, like I put in there, how you think, how you see yourself, how you even see the environment that you're growing in. It encompasses so many different areas because here's the thing, it does matter how you think about yourself. It does matter how you even process through your experiences in life. It matters how you view other people because no matter how many times people say it, that don't compare, people compare. And so even in that, it matters how you're processing someone else's, chapter that you're viewing at that moment. I think it also matters in how you choose to own your voice. And that really is like at the core of a lot of the book is really about you. Like it matters how you choose to see how you want to show up in the world. Because for me, when I wrote this particular book, it was because I kept seeing so many people wrestle with, I don't want to be perceived as this. I don't want people to think this. I don't want this. I don't want that. And so what ends up happening is you come up with, in my opinion, a watered down version of who you are so that you can accommodate people's opinions, people's thoughts, people's views of you. And then you feel frustrated because you feel like I'm not being who I am. So it's not that kind of like a rat race, it's just like constant thing and so I just wanted people just to sit down and be still and really think about that because I had to do that. This is not a book that's just for other people. It's one I had to live out completely. And I decided many years ago I was not going to be what everyone kept telling me I needed to be. And so I had to realize what mattered to me, what mattered to my voice, what mattered to how I wanted to be perceived. And so this is a lived book that I had to walk through.
Well, that was gonna be my next question is, you talk about slowing down and focusing and really thinking about these things, but was there ever a time when you got off track, when you felt like you needed to stop and focus and think about stuff like that?
For me, luckily, it happened early on when I was in business. I
Yeah.
started being in business, gosh, when I was 19 years old. So I had never worked in corporate America or entity or anything like that. I was always an entrepreneur. So
Yeah.
early on, I was listening to all of the amazing adults and mentors that I had around. But the thing is, in listening to them, they were really and truly teaching me about not being who I am. They're like, "You gotta be more aggressive. You gotta be more assertive. Okay, you can't come business casual. You gotta wear high heels all the time. You gotta look like this. Make sure you have this makeup on." I mean, it was so much stuff. And this was not an age of social media. I feel like I'm dating myself, but it was an age where appearance mattered, how people view how you showed up. It was so much more critique, honestly. And so at that time, I started doing it so much. And then I wasn't doing Officer Behind Her Branding You Impact. I was doing a speaker business. And Sherry just got to a point where I remember hitting what I deem rock bottom, but not by the world standard. I was making crazy amount of money. I had an overflowing business. I had a high rise in Las Colinas office. So by the optics, I'm doing good, right?
Yeah.
But inside, I was exploding because I was trying to manage all of this stuff and not being nowhere near who I was. And so I remember, and I would never do this now. So I'm just gonna say that. But I remember writing email to all of my speakers, and I was like, "I'm done. I can't do this anymore." And these are people who had me on retainers. I had a lot of contracts pending. I mean, I was just done. I just reached a point where I just felt like everyone wanted me to be what they needed me to be. And at the same token, I wasn't being nowhere close to who I wanted to be. And I was just like, "I'm done, y'all. I can't do this anymore." And it was obviously didn't handle it very well. And so I had some fallback from that. And that time I was in my late 20s. So like I said, learning lessons for sure. But that season taught me it really does matter how I choose to present who I am to the world. And I can't do it based off of what people feel like I should be. And so that became my new thing that I would never compromise again, and I have not.
That's so great that it happened as early as it did,
Mhm.
for you to learn that
Yeah.
that early on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What are some small ways that people can become more intentional with, what they're doing instead of just being busy, instead of filling our schedules? What are some things that we can do besides slowing down? What
Yeah. I think one of the first things, and this may sound like odd advice, remember what is exciting about what it is that you're doing. I think sometimes, when we first get that first idea and you're like, "Oh my God, I want to build this and I want to do this," it feels fun and exciting until you got to do all the work. And I think when we lose that sense of enthusiasm for what we're doing, we start producing work that doesn't feel exciting. And so I think one of the first things is what makes you really excited about what it is that you want to do? Like, why is this enjoyable? Why is this fun? And then even using that barometer and looking at what you are doing right now. Does it feel fun? Does it feel exciting? Does it still make you smile? Does it still make you feel good? I think it's what was one of the first things. I think the second thing is, and I do believe this changes faithfully as we grow. I'm sure you'll understand this too, is in my opinion, doing it is audit what you really and truly want to represent. And what I mean by that is we change. We always talk about how you can't expect your spouse to be the same person that he was or she was, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, because they keep changing and evolving. Well, we do the same thing. It's just that we don't always give ourselves grace to grow. We don't give ourselves grace to evolve. That maybe this is how I started my business, but I'm stronger now. I'm bolder. I'm much more comfortable in being more me. So you change. So even just taking a moment and think about who am I today and how is that showing up, and giving yourself grace in that space there too. And I think the third thing is my personal opinion, people stop being students of what they're building.
Yeah.
I think it's important to not just learn in your field. When I started Share many years ago, and I love that I was taught this and I still do it to this day, so it's gonna sound strange, but I typically don't like listening to marketing people or branding people in my space. I love looking at like aviation groups. I like looking at the
Really?
hospitality industry. Yes, I go to outside industries and I used to go to hospitality events. And here I am like, no, I'm a marketing and branding person. So I have,
That's
I build
funny.
community stuff. But I loved it because I got to learn about customer service. I learned about how they were up, they were in helping their teams become more united. When Southwest used to be a really big industry, I used to love learning at their events. They used to have open events for just people, period. And it was fun to see how they treated their team and they treated, their customers, all the things. I learned more outside of my industry than I learned within. And so I kept being a student of the core tenets of my business. Like
Yeah.
I love community. So I want to be around different communities. I want to learn what that looks like. I believe in creativity, so I like going to different art places and different, events that charge up my creativity. Like, for me, being a student, I think is something that we sometimes forget. Not that you can't go to industry stuff, let me be clear, I don't know what's saying that I'm saying don't go to your industry
Right.
stuff, but just be open to always being a student and learning.
I think that's so important. You know, years ago, you made me think. Years ago, I had a free ticket to, it wasn't live, but I got to
Mhm.
view the Global Leadership Summit,
Yeah.
and this was years before I was ever doing anything. Not that I'm leading
Mhm.
anything, but
Mhm.
I loved it. I loved listening to those people in their
Yeah.
fields, all different kinds of fields, teaching and what they're
Yeah.
I loved that. So I totally get that. That makes sense to me, and I need to pay attention to that. I need to maybe look at that. What is a common mistake that you see entrepreneurs make over and over again? Because 'Cause there's gotta be several.
And to be honest with you, the common mistake is they, in my opinion, um, they discount the progress they're making.
Yeah,
Constantly. It's like, "Well, I haven't moved in a couple of months, so I'm not doing the right thing, so let me go back to the drawing board." And sometimes it's like, "No, just give it time to breathe and grow instead of
yeah,
assuming you're doing something wrong." I think that is so common, because people want quick success. They
right,
want to see instant result, and if they don't get one new follower or one new this, it's like, "Oh, I'm not growing," but you never know who that one new follower can be. Do you
right,
ever know who that one new person can be? Like, we scored an major blessing with a new sponsor, and she was our one new subscriber in our Instagram page from months ago, and I didn't know her, didn't know she was
right.
connected to a major company that now has become such a blessing to our company,
That's
so
awesome.
you never know. So,
Right,
I think that's a constant mistake, just like, it says despising the small beginnings, you know?
right,
And I think that if we can just appreciate where we are every single day and nurture it, I'm making progress, I'm being consistent, I'm posting every day,
yes,
or I'm
yes,
doing XYZ consistently, like celebrating that and just nurturing that can
yeah.
change so much about how we see growth.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Mhm.
consistency is so important, it's so
Yes.
important. I have
Yes.
said kindness and consistency has gotten me,
Mhm.
besides the Lord, has gotten me where I am.
Yeah,
Continue
absolutely.
to be kind, but continue to show up.
Yeah.
So, that's so good. How do we know
Mhm.
when it's time to pause and realign and reassess? How do we know it's time to do that?
Oh, that's a good question. I've had a couple moments of pausing, um, and reassessing. I think when you get to a point where you realize that you can't show up for your audience in your best self anymore.
Yeah.
If you feel like this is routine, you feel like you're not growing in a space because I'm a big believer that if you're building something, you're still growing at the same time. But if you feel like this is just it doesn't feel good to me anymore, it's not exciting to me anymore. I have nothing new to share or say. And this is the other side of it because I've seen many people that I've worked with, they become resentful of their audience. They become resentful
Mm,
of where they are. And so that's pouring out into what they're doing. That's a
yeah,
good time to pause. It may be a good time to pivot or even to say this is an ending.
yeah,
And that is okay to say that too, and that I need to birth something new and fresh. And that's okay too. I did that with Behind Her Brand. We did book series. Many people think Behind Her Brand is just new because of the magazine. We've been around for 12 years.
right.
12 years. And we did so many years whereas just I mean just a book for years.
Yeah,
No conferences, no meetups, no nothing, no community. It was just book events only. That was it. And many people don't know that. Now some of my older ladies who were with us in the beginning, they remember that. And I had actually refused to do events. I had my other company, Impact, and we were doing conferences and all that. And I went through a big life change and I realized I started to resent, um, the, um, the growth that we had, honestly, because it became something that people were expecting, and it was
right.
becoming more demanding. And I did a big old thing, and I'm so silly not doing it. A big old goodbye to Behind Her Brand. We had an event, 130 people came out, and it was just like, "We're closing the chapter on this." Well, I thought
Wow.
it was a ending. God was like, "No, it was a pause." Um,
Yeah,
and I took 2 years and just breathe and just healed and just kinda went through what I needed to go through, and we came back now as a magazine and so forth, community and everything, but it was needed, and now I feel much more aligned here and much more
right.
excited here, than over here. So,
Did it scare you when you had to take that pause? Like, did it scare you to think, "Okay, what if nothing comes back? What if it, like,
Yeah.
'cause my that would be my thought, like, "Okay, Lord, but what about what if that's it, like, forever?"
Yeah.
That would be so sad to me.
It was scary for all those reasons, but it was also scary too because to the world, it didn't make sense. Just like
Yeah.
in my first experience in 20, it was like, "Damn, these are working." And when we did Behind Her Brand Books, it was off of the like, we had, women engineer organizations. "Can I do a book for our group?" We had, Latinas for this and that and the other. "Can we do a book?" Like, it was, like, segmented that way. So I was in front of so many amazing different groups. It was
Right.
exciting because what I was building was working. So
Yeah.
so it was that thought of who shuts down something that's working? Who shuts down something that is being successful? And it was blessing a lot of people. Um,
Yeah.
so it became that for a long time too, where I was doing it for everyone because it was successful. And so the scary thing was for me was what are people going to think that I'm shutting down something that obviously is working? But I also reached a point where I really could not focus on that. I had to focus on me. And so
Right.
I try to do it in a celebratory way, and I think that's something important too. I learned in my 20s, just don't send out an email and cut things off.
Right?
So this time I wanted to make sure I made a beautiful announcement. We had a nice event and made it celebratory.
Yeah.
And that way it felt a little bit more like, y'all, we did a really amazing thing together for years. Now we're closing this chapter.
Yeah.
So
So I that's so important, all of that is so good, and it's gonna encourage somebody because 'cause I'm sure there are people that are in that position where, like, "I have to stop, but I'm scared to stop because you just
yeah.
don't know, what's gonna
Yeah.
come back." So you are a mom and a wife, you've got this conference coming up, you've got the magazine, you're helping people write books, you're putting out incredible content. How do you stay grounded when you have all of these things around, pulling you in different directions and responsibilities and all that?
Something I implemented, I would say my mid-20s, and I still do it to this day. 4 times a year, I go away for 1 week.
Yes.
Sometimes it's going to my parents' house. Sometimes, I have colleagues that have, like, mother-in-law suites, so I may go there, and I go there just to recharge. And I will tell you when I first started doing this, I was married before, as you know. I had so many women that said, "How could you leave your family?" Like, that makes sense. You have kids. Yeah, not kids. I had one child at that point,
Yeah.
and they were just like, "How could you do that?" And da 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 da. And I felt a sense of guilt for a hot second, and that went away very quickly. But it goes back to what I talk about a lot in the book about knowing who you are and
Right.
what matters. I'm an introvert at heart, so I have to recharge. I am not someone that likes to do a whole lot of stuff outside with a
Right.
bunch of crowds of people all the time. I like a lot of intimacy in groups, but I had to learn that I needed to recharge. So for me to be the best Kim that I could be, those weeks were everything for me. And the thing is, they weren't like me at a spa. I wasn't like sleeping in. I was working, but it was like working on content, being alone with my thoughts, being able to create things more intentionally. I made sure everybody had dinner and everything for the week, that type of thing.
Right.
But those were everything. So I have maintained that to this day. I go away, and like I said, I do it 4 times a year, and, it keeps me being a stronger wife, mom, friend, business person, all the things, because I feel like I'm not operating from depletion. I feel like that my cup is really and truly good and full. No matter what life happens, I still feel like I'm full because I take care of me.
Yeah. It's so important, and it's one of the things I love about you in your leading is that you do take care of yourself, and it's not all about Kim, you don't make everything about you, you never do
Mhm.
that. But you are so good at that, and you make it look like you just said, "I'm not being selfish, I'm making sure they're taken care of, but I'm gonna take care of me, and you're not gonna feel guilty about it."
Yeah.
And women
Yeah.
need to hear that. They need really,
Yeah.
'cause that's hard as moms and as wives and homemakers and even women that are working full
Yeah.
time. It's like you feel that guilt of not wanting to take
Yeah.
time for yourself. So I love that you do that. It is encouraging to other women.
And
What
if I could add this one thing too. Oh,
Sure,
if
no,
I could
go
add one
ahead,
more
go
story.
ahead.
Because I know there's some people that may watch this and they work a full-time job and like, "Hey, I can't be taking off, that kind of time."
Right.
You don't have It's different for me because I work for myself. So I have that little bit of latitude. But even if you just take off like a Saturday, and
Sure.
do that regularly or just, a whole weekend, if you're able to do that, I think that is still the equivalent of that. I even told one lady too, I said, maybe carve out Friday mornings.
Yeah.
Because she just don't have to do it Fridays all the time. So you have to make that a priority for you. If you know that you are running on fumes. Or if you
Right.
don't want to run on fumes, you wanna be proactive, like, I think just carving out time for yourself is everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. So important, so important. So what do you hope, people feel when after they read your book? What are you hoping they walk away with? And like I said, it's a slow down and take your time. This is not a pick up and read
Yeah.
in an evening kinda thing. Like, some of the things I got stuck on because 'cause I'm like, "She's making me really think about this."
Well, and that was my hope. Like, I
Yeah.
want people to read it and feel like, um, they remember their why.
Yeah.
They remember, like, "This is how I really wanna show up in the world." I'm hoping that it even sparks new creativity to say, "You know what? If I had my real thing, I would love to market like this. I would love to put this out." Like, I'm hoping it causes people just to remember that how they are crafted and how they are is really and truly what people want the most. We don't want a watered down version. We don't want the version you think that is marketable or what the world says you need to do, 10-step formula and all this kind of stuff. We want you. And I'm hoping that it allows people to just really reassess and rebuild in a way that really feels good to not just them, but also their families too. And that's also a very important thing too. When I'm taking consideration in building, I'm thinking of my husband, I'm thinking of my kids. Um, because like I said, this is my lived experience, and one of the things when I said on here, like, how you move, ho it matters what you move. I remember, now this was early when Christian was, like, maybe 5 years old, and he's about to be 18, which is crazy, but,
That's crazy.
I remember I was building and doing, and he was like, "Mommy, I wanna spend time with you," and I said, "Okay," and he said, "Well, go get your laptop." And that crushed me because in his mind, he equated me working with spending time with him. And I remember thinking, "Oh, no, I don't want that ever to be his
Right.
image." But I also wanted him to know that, yeah, I do work and I do work hard, but I needed to reshift. And some of the questions I posed in the book, those are questions, like I said, I lived out. Like, is this really what I'm building? Something to where my kids think a laptop, is part of playtime. And so I restructured my whole schedule. And when people are like, "You're so busy, you're busy." I'm not busy. I'm very protective of my time. I don't work on Fridays. We cut it off when Kaden comes home. We do family dinner every night together. We have our Friday night movie nights. There's certain things that we do and we don't work on weekends. Like
Yeah.
back in the day, I did events all the time on weekends. Don't do that anymore. So when I put on here, it matters how you move also,
Mhm.
and what you're building. That's what I'm hoping people will start really thinking, am I really building the life that I want to build?
Right. That was gonna be my last question was if somebody was listening,
Mhm,
how do they know or what can they do? What's one thing they can
mhm,
do to make sure they're building something that lasts? And I mean, everything
mhm.
that you just said is definitely, that too. But is there anything else that you would add for
Yeah,
somebody to
find that one thing. Well, actually, I'm gonna give two-sided answer. I would find that one thing that you feel like, "Man, if I could put this in place, it would feel like I'm making progress in building something." And that could simply be, I'm not doing XYZ, or I'm gonna cut off at a certain time. I'm not gonna answer text messages at a certain time, whatever that may that one
Right.
thing. And if you are married, or in a relationship, take that same question and ask that other person, "What is one thing as I'm building that I could do differently that can even help us grow together?" And the reason why I say that because I just believe you're not always building alone. When you're building it,
Yeah.
it impacts your family. And I think when you hear the other side of it too, that can also help frame, like they may say, "Would love to have dinner," or "Would love to have midday, exchange,"
Right.
or whatever that might be. It can help frame how you schedule your day and everything.
Sure.
Like lunch, my husband loves to make breakfast every morning. He loves to go try different, like,
That's
coffee shops and stuff
awesome.
like that. So, I don't schedule a lot of meetings very much in the mornings.
Yeah.
Um, well, let me clarify, on, like, Monday mornings and things of that nature because that's our time to go do that before we jump into our day. So, you
Right.
find one thing that can make it feel like I'm building things on that's really and truly impactful for my life.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so
Mhm.
good. Um, so let's pivot for just a second because I have talked about the conference to everybody that would ever listen to me.
Mhm.
But I want to hear about it from you. So this year you said it's going to be a little bit different. Do we have
Yes.
any tickets left? Are there any?
Few. Just a
Just few.
few.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So if I post about that or talk about it, I
Yes.
want people to be able to get tickets. But tell people
Mhm.
why did you start the Behind Your Brain conference? What was the purpose in that?
The original purpose was more about, the generic, I think I'll say that generic statement of building community and
Right.
and everybody growing together. But what it is more now is I wanted to bring women together who are very serious about building. I don't want it to be fluff. I don't want it to feel like you're getting generic information. I don't want it to feel like, okay, I wasted my time because you know this. So many of the women that come, I would say about 80 to 90% fly in. You
Yeah.
know, and I think about that, like, they're coming in from out of town. I know you drive in as well. And
Right.
so my goal for this, conference is where we're gonna go over stuff that's gonna help you build into whatever next level you're trying to go into. And it's not always gonna be business. It could be you
Yeah.
building yourself personally. It could be building, financially, marketing. And so this year, we're gonna really dig in. It's gonna be very different. And I'll it was what we're building is gonna be based off of something I used to do before. And I remember ladies used to love the retreats, not retreats, I mean, conferences we did before because they felt like, "Oh my god, I had to bring in water and lots of notepads up because we were digging in," but they actually were building something when they left. And that's what I really want to kind of bring more into the conferences where, no, we're gonna really dig in. And my hope and prayer is that you leave not just with a bunch of ideas, but that you leave with like, "Okay, this is what I can do," and that it actually makes a movement in your business or ministry or whatever it is that you're building.
Right. I am so excited about it, and I look forward to this every year. I get so excited because it is all those things, and
Yeah.
there's always new things that I
Yes.
receive, learn, or whatever, make a new friend or get
Good.
new contacts or whatever. It's
Mhm.
all of that, and so I just love it. I just love it. I'm so glad you're doing that. Is there anything I have not asked you about that you wanna talk about the book or the conference or anything, business, anything?
No, I think, you've asked me pretty much everything. I think the only thing I would love to kind of just remind anyone watching this is, never neglect what matters to you.
Yeah.
I think it's so easy to take care of everyone and take care of what matters to everyone else, but I'm hoping that what you're building, what you're growing, and all the things that you don't forget that, what matters to you is very important and should be
Yeah.
priority in your life. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Kimberly, thank you for talking to me today. We need to talk beside
Absolutely.
boom
Yes.
for lunch or something because it's been a while, but I was very excited about getting to talk to you today. So thank
You're
you.
welcome. It's good to see you again.
I will talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye bye.